They did it. They finally did it. Bushiroad is actually reprinting old cards in their new set that are actually going to be useful. Deviant Shadow Prophecy here again with another daily discussion. Today is a good day for Vanguard. The 3 cards in question that are being reprinted are the old Grade 3 Shiranui for Nubatama, the Shiranui Critical Trigger, which is the generic Vanguard with Shiranui move to soul on attack, get 5k and draw, and the Witch Stride for Genesis from the Fighters Collection. So what does this mean? This essentially means that Bushiroad has finally realized that, maybe our secondary market isn't the healthiest. Maybe we should reprint some of our older cards to allow newer players to get into these clans and not have to spend a ridiculous amount of money in order to be able to play the deck that they want to play. So why are these reprints good? With the new support, Nubatama may become a very prevalent meta deck. And for those people who have never really played Nubatama before and want to give it a go and actually try the deck, it's not going to cost them a small loan to be able to build the deck, because Nubatama is always going to be expensive. It's upwards of Shadow Paladins in terms of pricing, at least here in Australia it is. To try and find this stuff is A, very difficult, and B, crazy expensive. I'm not sure how it is for Genesis, but I know Genesis is a popular clan and a lot of people do like to play it, so whether it does a lot in the meta or not, I'm sure that the reprint will be greatly appreciated by the players. So why does Bushiroad not do a whole lot of reprints? That's a very good question that I can't answer. Obviously, I'm not a Bushiroad employee, but reprints are really helpful for the game, really healthy. It injects new players in the game, which is what this game is sorely lacking at the moment. We need new blood in the game, or it's going to just be the same people playing the same decks over and over again, and that's not fun. We want more people to come into the game to get to experience the fun that we get when we build our first new deck, or a new deck that we've never tried, and we play it and we have a great amount of time, a great amount of fun playing it, learning its intricacies, how it works, what doesn't work, learning its matchups, things like that. Every other card game in existence has a reprint set that's just dedicated to reprinting old cards that are harder to find or will be really good coming out with a new ban list or something like that for more of a Yu-Gi-Oh standpoint. So they have their gold packs, their mega tins, their things like that. Magic the Gathering has Modern Masters as well. As a lot of their cards get reprinted in new sets. For example, we have Aven Mind Sensor and Magma Spray coming back into their newest set, Armenket, which is fantastic because it allows Aven Mind Sensor to be played in, I believe it's played in Hate Bears in Modern, which is fantastic, as well as giving a standard control deck a lot more tools to fight the meta, which is, again, great. So Bushiroad has kind of started to do this with their Revival collection, and hopefully we do get to see those yearly, because that would be fantastic. Even every 6 months would be even better. Just inject cards that are becoming harder to find, or just getting ridiculously expensive. For example, like Urugaiza, Blackwing Swordbreaker. I know Melem wasn't the most expensive card, but it was relatively hard to find at the time before the Revival collection and things like that. And especially if Gears continue to dominate the meta as they are at the moment, it's going to be even harder to find a lot of these key cards, being your next stages, your Melems. Like next stage at the moment is sitting at, I believe the rare is $50 American, so that's 60 or 70 Australian, depending on the conversion rate right now. I'm not particularly sure what it is. Thankfully, I've got my 4, so I'm sorted. But if a new player wants to come in and play a Gear Chronicle deck, it's scary times. So it's a lot harder to find these cards. So do you take the luck of playing Gear of Fate and maybe pulling the reprint? It's a good pack. You buy a pack, you pull a $50 card. You never feel bad about that. But yeah, moving forward for Bushiroad, I think that they really need to implement a dedicated scheme of reprinting old cards. As I've said, new players, That's how the game gets bigger. Not that it's a small game at the moment at all, but here in Australia, it's nowhere near the size of, say, Japan or even America. It's really small, and not a whole lot of people even know that it exists. And that again comes back to their Western marketing scheme, but that's another topic for another day. We're here to talk about reprints. Granted, reprints have a lot to do with their marketing schemes, their marketing structures, the secondary market in general, which will be probably tomorrow's video, will be the secondary market and what my opinions are of that. So if you're looking forward to that, stay tuned because it is coming. It is coming. But back to reprints. Very, very good direction. Good step in the right direction. Reprints are absolutely necessary for this game to continue. Trying to find stuff from old sets. Like the Legend deck, for instance. If you want to play the Legend deck, so a Blaster deck with the Legend deck in there, obviously, or even a Saint Guard Blaster deck, you'll need 4 Blaster Blades. Now, obviously, as soon as the Legend deck got announced, Blaster Blades were gone in an instant, which is fine. But having such a limited stock of a card that essentially is never going to be reprinted outside of this Legend deck, which is only going to have limited printings anyway, is not good. It means a player can't go, a new player can't come into the game and be like, I really like Aichi as a character. I want to play whatever he plays, which means I need Blaster Blades. Oh, Blaster Blades sitting at, I think at the moment they're like perhaps $20. So I need $80 to buy a playset of Blaster Blade to make my deck work. And that's just on that's $80 on 4 grade 2s. That's an issue, guys. The second you're looking at anywhere over $50 for a playset of a card that doesn't even win you the game. So it's not your ace, granted it is your engine, and Royal Paladin deck engine is fantastic, and the Blaster engine is fantastic, but the critical trigger is sitting at, I believe, $2 or $3 right now, and is out of stock everywhere. It's a trigger that's common. It's the same with Light and Darkness Pupil Lu, I believe that's the card's name. The grade 2 that, when it attacks a Vanguard, counterblast 1 to search for a Blaster Blade. That card, again, is a common and is $2 to $3. It's a common. Out of a old set that's probably never going to be reprinted. So I hope to God, if you want to play Royal Paladins, you have your Blaster engine set to go, and then get ready for the new wave of support, because that's going to be really expensive and out of stock pretty much immediately, because a lot of people, myself included, really want to play, or at least try out, the new Blaster deck, because every Legend deck that I've got so far has been fantastic, and has really just changed the meta a little bit, which hopefully we'll actually see a little bit of a different meta compared to the Japanese meta, because I know for a fact that the Legend deck hasn't done a thing there. So I hope that we get a little bit of innovation, that players take it upon themselves to be like, I want to make the Legend deck work. I want to see how this goes. I'm going to test it and test it and test it until I crack this thing, until I work it out. And then hopefully we get to see a meta that's not Saint Guard, because I absolutely hate that deck. It's so boring to watch. It's so boring to play against. It's so boring to play. There's no thought process. It's do the same thing every single game until your opponent is dead or you lose. But that's, again, another topic for another day. Reprints. Reprints, reprints, reprints. I don't know how many times I'm going to say it. It's so good for the game. New players. New players, new players, new players. Reprints are the way to go. Dedicated reprint sets, 110% is the future of this company. If they don't do a dedicated reprint set, then the secondary market is going to be even worse than it already is. And that's just ridiculous to think about. Anyway, that will be today's topic. Reprints, what are my final closing thoughts? Very, very good for the game. We need new players to come into the game in order to get the game to grow, for the game to continue as it is, and for all of us who have invested the time and the money and the effort into the game that really, really enjoy playing it, for it to continue in the way that we remember it. I still remember the first deck I ever got was the Narukami Eradicator trial deck, and I loved that deck. But that deck for me is still one of my favorite decks. The Dragonic Descendant happens to be my favorite card just because the art, the effect, the whole deck that I built around that card was absolutely phenomenal. And they reprinted Dragonic Descendant and Raging Form Dragon when their new support came out, and that was fantastic because I didn't actually have a playset because my deck only ran 3, so I needed another one. Thankfully, I was able to pick one up for a relatively decent price. I believe it was $5 or $6 at the time, which was awesome. But the fact that they reprinted it showed, hey, guess what? We're reprinting support for an older card. If you don't have it, it's all right. We're going to print it in this set. Granted, it's sort of a higher rarity to pull the reprint, but it's still necessary because if you don't have the old support and go, oh, that's a really cool card, I might want to build that, but I need my grade 3 because it was essentially built around the grade 3s. You need to have a Descendant Heart or a Raging Form Heart, I believe, for both of their effects. Getting the reprint in that set was absolutely fantastic, and if Bushiroad continues to do that, it actually shows players that they care and they are paying attention, and that is what they need to do right now, because a lot of players are starting to lose faith in Bushi just because of the things that happened with Luck and Logic, but we all saw that coming. Anyway, guys, Shadow Prophecy, I'll see you next time.